Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Big East Rewind. I'm Chuck Everson, and my co-host, my partner, my buddy, the great Sonny Sparrow. How are you, Sonny?
I'm doing great, Chuck. We had such a good time in New York, and it's going to be fun to reflect back on those people we spoke to. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's funny. We had a lot of great interviews. We did Mark Plansky and Matt Brust. We did Otis Thorpe and Harold Starks, Randy Foy, and Eddie Pinkney. And one of our guys, he's been involved with us since the beginning of this thing.
He has.
It
Big
really has.
contributor.
And
Big
he's helped
contributor.
us get some of the bigger names that we've had on the show, especially the guys from Seton Hall. He's a Seton Hall pirate through and through. And he's one of these guys that's always around and he's always there when you need him. And he happens to be a big guy,
He
Sonny.
bleeds blue, though. He does bleed blue.
Royal Blue. That's right.
He does.
Royal Blue. He does. And Danny Dunne played in the first 4 years of the Big East Conference. So he played in four different Big East tournaments at four different
Four
venues.
different places, yeah.
That's
Ended up
pretty
finished
wild.
at the Garden, but he started at
Finished at the Garden. It all culminated at the at Madison Square Garden, which is the Mecca and where this interview takes place, right across the street from Madison Square Garden at Macy's Herald Square during our time when we had the celebration of the 45th anniversary of the Big East Conference. And Starter, had us all set up there and dropped the starter line. So
Coach.
a lot
But
of stuff.
Chuck, you took one for the team, man. You ran this all by yourself. I had to leave. I had to get to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But you were
And
there and you ran it and you did just exceptional work.
well, I appreciate that, but you know what? The best part about it was Danny, like a lot of us, is a gear guy, Sonny, and he was in his glory, surrounded by not only pirate gear but all the teams of the Big East current day. And he was like a kid in a candy store. So, so I'm glad he hung around and waited to the end. We appreciate his patience while we got him on the show, and I got to talk to him one on one. And here it is for your listening pleasure right now. The great Dan Dunne from Seton Hall.
Big Dan.
Welcome back to Macy's Herald Square, where we are celebrating the Big East Conference through Starter and their jacket line, and the iconic jacket that's been popular since back when Sonny and I played back in the 80s. And speaking of back when Sonny and I played in the 80s, today, our final guest of the night, last but certainly not least, my good buddy from Seton Hall University, Dan Dunne, who played in the first games of the Big East Conference, first, second, and third, and fourth years, right, Dan? First, second, third, and fourth years, played in the Big East tournament before we got to Madison Square Garden. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Dunne from Seton Hall. How are you, Danny?
Fine, Chuck. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity to come on the show. Uh,
Absolutely.
big
You have a lot of history behind you. I mean, what was it like playing in those days? I mean, in Walsh Gym, right? Back in the day when the Big East was just in its infancy.
Playing in Walsh Auditorium at Seton Hall was one of the most cherished memories of my career. Playing in a small bandbox gym, 3,000 people, yelling and screaming, fanatics, always pulling for the Pirates to win, and having quality teams coming in and playing at Walsh Auditorium. It was a historic gymnasium built in the 30s, and it gave us 6 points. It gave us 6 points as a home court advantage because the fans were so close to the action on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough spot. I never got to play in there, but I've seen my daughter play against Seton Hall in there. It's tough even today. The lines on the court, they had volleyball lines, basketball lines.
Yeah.
You didn't even know where you were on the floor, right?
Now, the lines helped me to know my position. When Raf told us to go into a zone or where I should be, I'd look at the floor and I got to go whether this line meets this line. But running the sprints that we had to do, trying not to trip over the lines was hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned his name. Let's talk about the great Bill Raftery, who everybody knows through, if you watched a college basketball game, you've heard Bill call a game, his famous onions call, or, all the things with the kiss, all these things. But you actually played for him when he was a coach. What was that like?
Well, Coach Raftery coached my freshman and sophomore year, first 2 years of the Big East. and it was eye-opening to say the least, playing for him because he was so animated, and he could cut you with his tongue like Zorro, and cut like Death of a Thousand Cuts.
Right.
And then he would build you up and say such great things to you afterwards, and like you knew he loved you, you knew he cared about you, and he was not like breaking us down to build us up, but he expected a certain level, and if you didn't meet that certain level, he was going to know. He was going to let you know you got to work harder, you got to play harder.
That seems to be the story of the night when guys were talking about their former coaches from back in the day, the Massiminos, the Carnesecas, and now Bill. That seems to be a common ground for everybody. They always talked about the coaches that ripped you, but then came back and gave you a hug or gave you a good, good talking to afterwards about what you did and how much better you really are.
Right.
That said, so Bill was animated. He had some wild suits back then. I remember that from watching him. He had like Lindsey Nelson. For those of you that know, I know I'm dating myself with the Lindsey Nelson thing, but for the New York Mets. But talk about a game time rap. I mean, I talk with we had your buddy on a couple times, Danny Calandrillo, and Danny speaks very fondly about rap. And listen, I've never heard a bad word about the guy ever. I mean, and I've been around him a long time. He's been around the Villanova program. Him and Coach Massimino were fast friends, and he's been around and then with Jay. So I've had some long nights with Raph and been around him a little bit. But talk about what that was like.
Billy expected us to be young men. He expected a certain level. This is how you behave. This is the Seton Hall way. This is how we act at a Catholic university. This is what we're doing. We're giving you an education, so you have to do A, B, C, and D. This is what we expect of you.
Right.
You're at a Catholic university. You're going to mass. You're going to attend class. You're going to dress a certain way. He had no facial hair. Everybody had to be clean shaven.
Right.
The little things that he knew that we would need to help us in the business world get through with our studies, get a degree. And he helped me become a man. He's one of the 5 most influential men in my life. And without Billy taking a chance on me, give me a scholarship, let me play at a great university, at a very high college level, I owe him a lot. And not just in basketball-wise, but teaching me how to be a man, which helped me throughout the rest of my adult life.
Yeah, and that seems to be the pattern with him. So talk about going in the Big East tournament. The first one was in Hartford, correct?
Providence.
It was Providence.
It was Dave Gavitt's.
Dave Gavitt was his backyard. So Providence, then Hartford, then the Carrier Dome.
Other way around.
The other way around.
We got Providence, Carrier Dome, Hartford,
and then the Garden.
Then the Garden.
So talk about what that was like, getting to the Garden. I played in the first one at the Garden. Now you played pre-Madison Square Garden. Talk about the differences when you go to a place like Connecticut or you go to a place like the Dome up in Syracuse, playing in a big tournament there versus playing at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden.
Well, unfortunately, Seton Hall, when I played there, we would always play the first game of the tournament.
No, I get that.
1 versus 8, and we would have the afternoon game. So there was nobody in the crowd, really. And you could hear the basket, the bounce on the ball, the squeak, the sneakers that going. You could hear the coaches yelling, and then the guy selling popcorn or whatever. You could hear them.
Right.
But we weren't used to playing in such a big arena, playing in the Walsh Auditorium. So it's different for us with the perspective of shooting the foul shots with people behind you.
Yeah.
At the Seton Hall at Walsh Auditorium, we had the balcony at one end and the stage at the other. So for us, it was big time that we were in a big time arena, even though there were like 700, 800, 900 people in the stands. Providence was nice. Was nice. Carrier Dome was crazy because they had the tartan floor, and it gave you like 2 or 3 inches on your jump, and how big and huge the Carrier Dome was. And again, we didn't draw a lot of fans because we played Georgetown in the first round, which was and Billy Raftery's last game, coaching Seton Hall, and I have a picture of him and Georgetown's Coach Thompson on a picture. Like it's kind of an iconic picture that I had, and I'm sitting on the bench behind Raph, thank God, because I wasn't getting yelled at, because he's yelling at somebody on the bench on the court.
Right.
It wasn't me, so I'm glad I'm over here, not getting yelled at. And going to Hartford was different because they had it was like on ice, like that the floor was laid over ice, because the Hartford had the Hartford Whalers that
Hartford
they played
Whalers,
there.
of course.
And so it was different. We could see ice between the boards, So it was a little bit different than what we used to. And then when we heard we were coming to the Garden, we were like, yeah, all right, 4 years, 4 different tournament sites. The best gifts that we got were here at the Garden. because they were in the
Well,
tournament.
yeah, talk about that for a second. I mean, there's two things that happened at the Garden for the Big East tournament that we didn't really touch on today, okay? The first thing was the luncheon, right?
Yes, yes.
You had 2 guys from each team sit at a table. So there might have been 10 guys, 12 guys at a table, all right? So you'd have 2 from Georgetown, 2 from St. John's, 2. And that was Gavitt's way of having us get to know each other a little bit better by sharing a meal. That's the first thing. And the second thing was you got a gift. You know, every time we played, we got something. Yeah. As we came out of the the luncheon, we wound up getting something, which was kind of most of the times was really really nice too, right?
It was. But I remember when we had the Big East luncheon. Back then, I was deathly shy, and my pants were on fire. I wouldn't call for help. I was so shy, and I remember sitting at the table with these guys that we don't know, except for Bill Winnington,
Right.
and Billy was just like lighting up, snapping on everybody,
Well,
drilling everybody.
you guys were both Long Island guys at
Yeah,
the time.
both Long Island Lutheran. He played at Long Island Lutheran after I did. I graduated in '79.
Right.
I graduated June of '79. He came in September '79, and then he came to St. John in '81. So we played against each other, and I didn't know him in high school, but we played against him in college. But we knew each other, so it was a good time. And he, at the luncheon, he's cutting everybody up, drilling and making fun, and keeping everybody loose. And I couldn't help it. I was just like, Joe Stoll, I didn't want to be there because I don't want to. Let me be with my teammates who I know. I don't know any of these guys. But after the first 15, 20 minutes, he got everybody loose. It was fun, and it was kind of neat hanging out with guys from Providence and Georgetown and guys who we would beat up on the floor, and they beat us up. But we're still sharing bread, breaking bread with each other, and it was a nice idea. It was a really good idea. And the gifts we got, I remember we got a T-shirt, we got
alarm clock or something.
Alarm clocks, jackets, nice windbreakers, gym bags that I still have, T-shirts that I still have.
First of all, you still have everything.
Oh,
Dan.
yeah.
I mean, listen, we have a Facebook page, called the Big East Rewind Facebook page. Danny posts everything that he had from his freshman year warm-ups to everything, right? I mean, so what are you just a hoarder, or what do you?
Oh, I majored in history at Seton Hall, history and American studies.
There you go.
And I taught social studies, American history for 30 years at the middle school level up in Rochester. So I knew playing at Seton Hall at that level was very special. So I wanted to save as much of the stuff as I could.
Yeah.
So I still have every program from every game for my 4 years at Seton Hall. And I'll go back and I'll take pictures and I'll send them to Ricky Tucker from Providence.
Sure.
Danny, thanks so much. My mom threw this stuff out. I don't have it. I never knew I had this stuff. Ron Jackson from Providence.
Right.
Danny, thanks. I lost this stuff years ago. Billy Goodwin from St. John's, who lives in France. Billy, you remember this picture? Oh my God, I forgot all about that. Where do you have this? I'm like, it's in a box upstairs.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of neat because I'm sure now, when we're celebrating the 45th anniversary of the conference now. That's kind of cool to break out and share with everybody. So that's good that you do that kind of stuff.
And having the Big East Rewind gives me a platform to let other people know, not just Seton Hall people. This is Seton Hall stuff, but here we are playing against Georgetown.
Well, we are kind of the historians of the conference, Sonny and I, which is a cool thing because we never started out thinking it was going to be that way. But here we are, so it worked out. So let's talk about distinctly, I remember playing against you at the Meadowlands, right?
Yep.
I never because I think it was my had to be my freshman year, your senior year,
it was
right?
82, 83.
Yeah,
83.
yeah.
Because
So listen, no offense, but we loved playing Seton Hall, UConn at the time, and Providence because I knew I was going to play in those games back then. No offense to you,
no, that's fine.
But I knew I was going to get some runs, so you get a little more amped up to play against you guys.
Yeah.
So back then. The conference, it's cyclical, cyclical, and it's some teams that were down back then are now up. You look at the UConns, the Seton Halls have had a great run for a while. Last year's NIT
champion last year, great run.
And then then you see the Georgetowns and the St. John's were down. Now it's St. John's turn to be back on the top. Talk about that. How that's changed since you were playing. How it's changed, the teams that were down, that were up. Talk about some of the teams that you played against that were up
like I said,
and then down.
It's cyclical, and giving players an opportunity to play. If you are the lower end of the conference, you're going to come in, you're going to get playing time. You're going to have an opportunity to make a name for yourself and get some playing minutes against quality basketball teams. And if you catch lightning in a bottle, like Seton Hall has done, like Villanova has done in the past years, you're going to make a move. And the more people see your success, the more they want it. Success breeds success. The more successful you are, the more success is going to bring you.
Do you follow the Pirates, like you did?
I do, but to be honest with you, I never knew until this past week that this year's Pirate team has more losses than my senior year, 82-83, which had the record for most losses in the Pirate season.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, 45 years later, and we were so bad we were good. And I was kind of like,
yeah, they had a tough one. They lost some key players. Kadari Richmond is one through the portal. And, it's like I said, we talked about being up and down. A lot of teams are going to go through this. When you have 7, 8, 9, 10 new guys on your team, it's very hard to keep the continuity for a whole season, don't you think?
Exactly. It's kind of like if you're an orchestra leader and you have different new band members. You have a new trumpet player, you have a new violinist, you have a new bassoon player.
Right.
And they may not know the music. They may not know the tempo you want to play.
Right.
And you as the orchestra leader, the band leader, you have to get them all to play together to make some kind of music. And unfortunately, Seton Hall struggled this year. It took a lot of games on the chin, lost a bunch of games at the buzzer by 1 or 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
So those 4 or 5 games could have changed the season around. It happens to the best of teams. It happens, it's just the luck of the game. You got to play every game like it's your last game. And like I heard you say before, you got to play every second and try to play like it's your last game and make every shot you can.
Yeah, and it's tough. Sometimes you get breaks and sometimes you don't. You know. And then the good thing is, you can go right back next year and be a whole different team and be on the top. There's no way on a preseason top 5 or top 10 in the Big East. It's impossible to do because nobody's played together yet, and that seems to be the thing that kind of sticks with me a little bit because it was never that way when we played, right, Dan? I mean, your teammates were your teammates for 4 years.
Yep, and you knew, all right, we got Georgetown with Patrick. We got
Pat stayed for 4. Chris stayed for 4.
Right,
I mean, everybody stayed.
We knew, all right, when we get you guys at home, we got a chance. We got a puncher's chance at home. When we go to your place, we can hope to stay within 10, 15 points.
Exactly.
But we knew each other. We'd be playing the parks against each other. It was kind of bragging rights.
Right.
I hate you on the floor, but we're both from Long Island. After the game, we shake hands, and
exactly.
I'll see you at Prospect Park. I'll see you over.
That's right. That's right.
So it was that kind of camaraderie, and it was like the kids in the neighborhood. The people from the neighborhood knew who you were. We knew who each other was because it was kind of bragging rights. I can't go back to Long Island and knowing I lost to St. John's and Villanova,
right.
And I go to a park and wear anything Seton Hall. You guys, Villanova beat you guys. St. John's beat you guys like an egg. I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
So you played in the first, like we said, you played in the first Big East tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was some of your greatest memories of playing in the Big East tournament?
Probably the coaches, the legendary coaches that we didn't realize that would become legendary.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't realize because they were our coaches. They were our coaches, and they talked to us. I remember going to an old-timers game at the Meadowlands, and Raleigh Massimino, was playing Villanova.
Right.
And Raleigh Massimino, hey, I remember you. I know you. And I'm like, gee, thanks, coach. You remember me.
Right.
It was a nice feeling. Everybody knew each other because everybody recruited. Everybody recruited each other. The coaches would recruit you from the different Big East schools. Different, so it was a family camaraderie type of thing. And the players watching Johnny Duran dunking it 7 times. Watching Sleepy Floyd just smooth jumpers.
Sleepy was amazing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
So
I don't think he
smooth.
gets enough credit for being as good as he was.
No.
I mean, I really don't.
No, because he's on the Georgetown was team. No me in team. And the players, every team had 3 or 4 great players.
Right.
And on any given night, I remember Providence, who was the bottom of the league, beating Georgetown, who was on top of the league. And it was always a puncher's chance.
Yep.
And Seton Hall, we're like a boxer. We could last 8, 10, 12 rounds. We couldn't go the whole 15 rounds.
Yeah.
And then the teams knew they weren't going to fight with us. It was a street fight with us because tough Jersey guys, tough North Jersey guys, a Long Islander.
Right.
And you knew it was going to be a street fight. When you come into Walsh Auditorium, you knew that the teams knew, like, oh, we're in for a scrap today. We got to play hard.
Right.
To get out of here with a W.
Well, we've asked everybody this question. What is your starter jacket story?
Well, the starter jacket story that I have is not really a jacket. It's a Seton Hall
Like a
golf
Yeah,
shirt.
right. Polo.
Long sleeve triple X. I wore it. Yeah, I wore it last night to the game. The Seton Hall, and it fits me like a glove. And I'm like, oh my God. And being 6'10", 245, it's kind of hard
Right.
to find something that's not 3 inches up the cuff, you know.
Right, right.
But it's like, my God, it looks good on me. And I've gotten compliments on how good I looked wearing the starter.
Yep.
And I had to, like, kind of model, a little bit and
Well,
jazz it up a bit.
Your starter jacket story starts today. You got one on right now, right?
All right, because I wish I started more games at Seton Hall, but I was a starter for a couple games, so it kind of apropos.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, on that note, we're going to call it a night tonight from Macy's Herald Square. Thanks for being here, Danny.
No, Chuck, thank you so
appreciate all
much.
your help. I know you supported Sonny and I for the last 4 years that we've been doing this.
No, you're doing
and
a
we
great
really
job.
appreciate all the help
Doing
that
a
you
great
guys
job.
have
Go
given
Big
us.
East. And in the NCAAs, even though we hated each other, when it came to postseason, we pulled for each other.
That's right.
That's
exactly
I
right.
don't like Villanova, Butler, Creighton. I don't like you during the season, but during the postseason NCAAs, I'm pulling for you. Go to the Final Four. All Big East Final Four. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's it, man. Me too. Dan Dunne from Seton Hall, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much to Tony Shillman, to Carl Banks, to the people here at Macy's Herald Square that let us take up their space, to Starter, to Lids, and everybody that was involved with this whole thing. We appreciate you. Thank you very, very much, and have a great night, everyone. Take
The
care.
Big East Rewind was produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. Also on our camera, all our technical stuff that we did at Macy's Herald Square was produced by Billy Papamanuel. We thank Billy for all his hard work and what he did to help us with a different experience for Sonny and I. And of course, check us out on the SiriusXM app. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts from. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. Have a great night.
Click like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Have a good one, folks. Appreciate you all.